Was a superstar. I've been saying it for years. I keep telling everybody she's the Steph Curry of women's basketball, college or pro. She is a superstar. I had the pleasure of doing an event with her on campus at Iowa a few months ago. I went there for my man Mark Shapiro, and I had a blast. She and I were on a panel together. She's a wonderful, wonderful young lady, incredibly poised. But this woman is the nation's leading scorer, averaging 31.5 points per game, shooting 40% from threes. She's hitting at least 5 3-pointers.
60 seconds. That's reportedly all it took for systems designed to handle billions in annual sales to buckle under pressure. Estimates suggested traffic approached 10 million site visits within a single minute. 500,000 orders processed before crashes began. Then chaos. Fans locked out of checkout screens flooded social media with frustration. Error messages became memes. Yet the outages only intensified desire. When scarcity enters the equation, urgency multiplies. The frenzy didn't stop at American borders. In Tokyo, reports described fans camping outside select retailers in anticipation of restocks. Chinese resale platforms listed the shirts for over 3,000 within hours. Bots and resellers capitalized immediately, flipping units at markups exceeding 250. One reseller allegedly generated 50,000 overnight. Financial markets noticed. Nike shares reportedly climbed sharply in pre-market trading the next day. Fashion publications from Vogue to GQ framed the shirt as symbolic, not merely apparel, but haute couture, representing a generational shift. High school students traded them for electronics and concert tickets. The garment evolved into social currency. What began as a 40 purchase became identity, status, and visible proof of women's basketball's expanding commercial footprint.
Logo threes and buzzer beaters. Now, Clayton Clark has been the talk of the town for the past, really this whole year, but really just heavy in the past 2 months, just because, she's the best female college player of all time that's coming out of college type shit. Even though they lost in the championship, they are still just showing this girl's face. No hate, no love. I really like her game. I haven't seen too much of it. I've seen little clips and stuff.
When the Caitlin Clark emblem finally appeared online, it seemed almost understated. The design was clean, minimal, and unmistakably bold without being overcomplicated. Two interlocking waves formed the central visual, subtle, modern, and symbolic of movement. It was the kind of logo that feels simple until you realize how precisely engineered it is. At first glance, it looked like a standard apparel launch. But within seconds, traffic surged in two massive waves, domestic and international. What began as a straightforward store update escalated into what many are now calling one of the most explosive apparel rollouts in sports history. Pages froze. Carts glitched. Checkout timers spun endlessly. And still, the orders poured in. The frenzy wasn't confined to a single region. Reports indicated simultaneous spikes across North America, Europe, and Asia. Fans weren't casually browsing, they were racing against one another. The urgency mirrored sneaker culture drops traditionally associated with elite NBA athletes, yet this moment centered on a WNBA star. The cultural undertone made the event even more significant. For decades, women's sports merchandise launches were treated cautiously, often released in limited quantities with modest expectations. This time, anticipation had been building for over a year. Fans had asked repeatedly for official Clark gear. The silence from Nike only amplified the suspense. When the logo finally went live, it wasn't just a product, it was a release valve for pent-up demand. The phrase cultural earthquake may sound dramatic, but the data supported it. Hashtags trended globally. Influencers posted real-time reactions. News outlets pivoted from sports to business coverage within hours. The most remarkable detail? It was a t-shirt. Not a signature sneaker priced at $200. Not a limited edition collaboration with a luxury house. A 40-piece of apparel that turned into a global race. The simplicity of the item underscored the magnitude of the moment. This wasn't about exclusivity alone. It was about belonging, about fans wanting tangible proof that they were part of this era of women's basketball.
This girl gets to the WNBA. She is something special. Make no mistake about it. And I really, really, really am rooting for her. I really want to see her again have another shot at a national championship. She's my favorite.
Behind the scenes, Nike scrambled. Within 3 hours, the initial production run vanished. Emergency manufacturing orders reportedly followed, adding millions more units. Shipping operations expanded capacity almost overnight. Factories in Southeast Asia accelerated output. Every delayed restock meant missed revenue in a rapidly escalating global demand cycle. By October, analysts weren't just discussing Clark's star power, they were acknowledging a broader transformation. Revenue reports later highlighted a notable quarterly increase, with the Clark collection cited as a significant contributor. Competitors took notice. Emergency planning meetings reportedly unfolded at rival brands. Executives across the industry asked the same question: how did one WNBA athlete drive numbers typically reserved for global male icons? The answer wasn't simply marketing. It was timing, authenticity, and a fan base ready to invest. Nike may have underestimated scale initially, but it capitalized quickly. The lesson reverberated beyond apparel. It forced a recalibration of how women's sports properties are valued. In the aftermath, the narrative extended far beyond a single product. The launch symbolized a reordering of expectations in sports commerce. Women's basketball was no longer pitching potential. It was delivering proof. Clark's logo became shorthand for a cultural shift, one where demand doesn't require justification. The numbers spoke loudly enough. The frenzy demonstrated that the appetite for women's sports merchandise can rival, and occasionally surpass, long-established benchmarks. Industry analysts now frame the midnight drop as a watershed moment. Not because a t-shirt sold quickly, but because it shattered outdated ceilings. The implications ripple through sponsorship negotiations, broadcast rights discussions, and youth participation pipelines. What Nike accomplished, intentionally or accidentally, was validation. A confirmation that investment in women's basketball is not charity or trend chasing. It is smart business. And that realization may prove more valuable than any single sellout statistic.
Can have nothing to do with the conversation around being a cultural phenomenon. And now there is no debate that Caitlin Clark has become exactly that. Think about it. The Nike historic shoe deal she just signed, she signed because companies like to make money. And they know they will make money. Because when Caitlin Clark walks into a coffee shop in the middle of nowhere, people recognize her. Because when you are on Saturday Night Live and every news and entertainment network along the way, not just sports networks, you've risen above the conversation about your play.
It started quietly, just after midnight, with what looked like a routine product upload from Nike. No dramatic Super Bowl commercial. No months-long teaser rollout. No elaborate countdown clock splashed across billboards. Just a 40 t-shirt featuring the sleek new emblem of Caitlin Clark going live on the company's website. On paper, it was simple. In reality, it became one of the most explosive apparel launches in modern sports history. For 18 months, fans had been waiting. Ever since Nike secured Clark's endorsement deal, speculation had been non-stop. Where were the hoodies? The signature sneakers? The limited drops? The silence only fueled anticipation. Online forums mocked up designs. Social media replies flooded Nike's posts with demands for Clark merchandise. The build-up created pressure, and when the logo finally appeared online in late September, that pressure detonated instantly. Within seconds of the release, traffic surged in two massive waves, domestic and international. What was supposed to be a controlled launch turned into digital chaos. Reports suggested millions attempted to access the site simultaneously. Servers that were built to handle billions in annual revenue began freezing under the load. 500,000 orders reportedly processed before widespread crashes began. Checkout pages glitched. Error messages popped up. Carts emptied unexpectedly. But instead of slowing demand, the chaos amplified it. The initial production run, roughly 2 million units priced at $40 for adults and $35 for youth, vanished in record time. Fans who managed to secure a shirt celebrated online like they had won a championship. Those who didn't flooded social platforms with frustration, screenshots, and pleas for restocks. The frenzy wasn't confined to the United States. In Tokyo, select retailers saw lines form in anticipation of future inventory. In China, resale platforms listed the shirts for thousands of dollars within hours. Resellers flipped units at markups exceeding 200, and some reportedly made tens of thousands overnight. What stunned analysts most wasn't just the speed of the sellout, it was the symbolism. This wasn't a 200 signature sneaker tied to a decades-long NBA legacy. It was a 40 t-shirt connected to a WNBA player entering just her second professional season. Yet the demand rivaled major male athlete launches. Fashion outlets from Vogue to GQ reframed the shirt as cultural currency. High school students traded them like rare collectibles. It stopped being merchandise and started becoming identity. Behind the scenes, Nike scrambled to respond. Emergency production orders followed. Shipping capacity expanded. Factories ramped up output. Every minute without restock represented lost revenue in what had clearly become a global moment. Financial markets noticed too, with investor chatter centering on how a single WNBA collection was influencing quarterly momentum. But the bigger story stretched beyond numbers. This wasn't just about Clark. It was about validation for women's basketball as a commercial powerhouse. For years, debates swirled about whether the league could command this level of urgency. That midnight drop answered the question emphatically. The demand wasn't theoretical. It was measurable, immediate, and global. A simple logo on cotton triggered a chain reaction not just for Nike's inventory systems, but for the entire sports apparel industry. It forced executives, competitors, and skeptics to confront a new reality. Women's basketball isn't waiting for permission to be profitable. It's already there.
And when she was playing, or just sat there and like watch her full highlight clips, just whatever like great shot she shoots or whatever play she makes that's big, it goes on Twitter or TikTok, whatever. I've seen it. But I want to give respect due to this, to her, because again, what she's doing is amazing. Like you ain't never seen no female do what she be doing, or no woman. So in that standpoint, I just want to show love and just see, what's going on, like see what type of.
To fully understand the explosion, you have to rewind 18 months. That's how long fans waited after Nike secured Clark's endorsement deal. For a company capable of designing and launching multi-million-dollar sneaker lines within a season, the silence felt unusual. There were no early teaser capsules. No steady drip of merchandise. Just speculation and mounting anticipation. Online forums buzzed with mock-up concepts. Supporters pleaded for hoodies, hats, anything bearing her name. The quiet became strategic, or at least it appeared that way. When the logo finally surfaced late on a September night, it arrived without excessive theatrics. Elegant. Uncomplicated. Direct. Production numbers seemed aggressive on paper, roughly 2 million units manufactured, priced at $40 for adults and $35 for youth sizes. For most launches, that volume would signal confidence. In this case, it underestimated reality. Demand didn't creep upward, it detonated. Within moments, inventory projections collapsed under the weight of traffic. Analysts later suggested that pent-up anticipation combined with Clark's accelerating popularity created a perfect storm. Her collegiate record-breaking performances had already built a national audience. Her transition to the WNBA only intensified interest. What Nike perhaps miscalculated was emotional momentum. This wasn't simply a fan base making a purchase. It was a community eager to convert admiration into ownership. After waiting over a year, hesitation disappeared. Clicking buy now felt less like shopping and more like securing a piece of history.